dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers. Many of you have now heard the term stepped-up basis, and it possibly being eliminated, which is very concerning. I encourage you to schedule your free 15-minute consultation with attorney Harlan Mitchell to find out what you can do to protect yourself and your family. Schedule your appointment with attorney Harlan Mitchell by calling 256-216-9884 or by going to bamaestateplanning.com. Do it today. You've heard me talk about telemedicine at Trinity Medical Care Center here on The Mark White Show. With Trinity Medical Care Center's telemedicine, you can skip the commute and get the care you need from the safety and comfort of your own home. You can contact Trinity Medical Care Center by calling 256-489-3192. You can also schedule an appointment on the web by going to trinity-medicalcare.com. Again, give them a call at 256-489-3192 and give telemedicine a try today.
Hello, my name is Christian Martinez. I'm a rising senior at Athens Bible School. My school is great because of the wonderful environment in which students can grow and flourish. We have great academics that include the University Preparatory Diploma and dual enrollment courses that lead to an associate's degree before high school graduation. All my teachers and the school's employees are Christians who are devoted to the welfare of students. We have an excellent student body, competitive sports program, and study the Bible first thing every day. It's a great place. Please consider joining us at ABS next year, or give that special child in your life the great opportunity I have.
Boutique Air in Muscle Shoals, Alabama offers direct flights to Atlanta, Nashville, and Pensacola. Boutique Air service runs twice daily, 7 days a week with fares starting at $59. Follow Boutique Air Muscle Shoals on Facebook at Boutique Air MSL and book your flight through boutiqueair.com. Boutique Air,
where you can fly private for the cost of commercial.
You know, my mother used to say a long time ago, whenever there would be any real catastrophe that was in the movies or on the air, she would say, always look for the helpers. There will always be helpers, just on the sidelines. That's why I think that if news programs could make a conscious effort of showing anybody who is coming into a place where there's a tragedy, to be sure that they include that. Because if you look for the helpers, you'll know that there's hope.
Hey everybody, this is Daryl Worley, and you're listening to The Mark White Show. Hey, step up and make a difference like he does.
Hey y'all, this is Jeff Foxworthy, and you can make a huge difference in somebody's life. You just may not have figured out how yet, and that's why you're listening to The Mark White Show.
Hi, this is Maggie Peterson. I played Charlene Darling on The Andy Griffith Show, and you are listening to The Mark White Show.
Hi folks, this is Ricky Skaggs, and you're listening to The Mark White Show.
Hello, I'm Gene Stallings, and this is The Mark White Show. Get off the sideline and get involved and make a difference in your community.
You are listening to The Mark White Show. My daddy is your host, Mark White.
Do something good today.
My friend Nikkia Coburn emailed me, and she wrote, "Teen dating violence is an issue facing many teenagers, and it is time we take a stand. We must do our part to end the cycle of abuse by teaching teenagers what healthy relationships look like and how they can create a plan to stay safe. Creating an environment where teenagers feel valued, loved, and respected will go a long way towards preventing teen dating violence." Well, here I am, Nikkia. I want you to be able to share with listeners today what you are trying to do.
Thank you so much, Mark, for answering my email and allowing me this opportunity. So I am currently a senior at Arizona State University, and I'm taking a class on advocacy. And we were told to find something we're passionate about and start a blog and try to get supporters and to make a difference. So I immediately thought about the topic, the subject of teen dating violence, because I myself am a survivor of teen dating violence. And as I looked at it, the statistics were frightening and scary because I have two teenage daughters, and it's just scary what to look at. So some of the stats that I wasn't aware of is that nearly 1.5 million high school students nationwide experience physical abuse in a dating partner relationship in a single year. It's just in 1 year. It's a big issue that, I don't think many people realize. And a lot of parents, they don't realize what's going on. A survey that I found said that 81% of parents believe that teen dating violence is not an issue, or they admit that they don't know that it's an issue. But it is. More than half of women, 69.5%, and 53.6% of men who have been physically or sexually abused or stalked by a dating partner first experienced that between the ages of 11 and 24 years old. To me, that's just overwhelming. So what can we do? How can I make a difference? I'm just one person. You're just one person. All the listeners, you may think, I'm just one person. How can I make a difference in this big problem? Well, my goal in doing this is just to bring awareness and to start those conversations between parents and children. And having those conversations now when they're younger can make all the difference, and helping them find those healthy relationships as they're older. So in my blog, I challenged my readers. I said, here's what I want you to do today. I want you to sit down with your son, with your daughter, with your granddaughter, with your grandson, niece, nephew, friend, anybody that you know, anybody that you personally know. Sit down with them and have a conversation. Have that hard conversation about what a healthy relationship looks like and what an unhealthy relationship looks like. I want them to understand that just because you're in a relationship and just because that partner says, I love you, doesn't mean it's okay for them to hurt you in any way, shape, or form. So have that conversation with them and do it now. You may think, my child's only in 5th grade or only in 6th grade. We've got plenty of time before that. We need to have those conversations, but don't wait. Don't wait till they're older. Do it now. And then I also encourage you, after you have those conversations, to go to the hotline.org. That is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And on there is a link for creating a safety plan. Sit with your child or your friend and make a plan of what to do if they find themselves in that kind of situation. So I know it's going to be hard, and I know it's awkward. It's awkward for me to have those conversations with my girls, and my son. But you have a plan if your house catches on fire, right? Most people do. Or you buy insurance in case something happens. I want you to think about that and think about the end. Keep the end in mind. Start with the end in mind and plan to protect your child from these things that come up. And I encourage you in my blog, I say, do not wait until you're in the middle of the storm to look for shelter. So bringing awareness and having those healthy conversations with kids now would hopefully protect them in the future. And if through my efforts we can save one child from experiencing teen dating violence, I feel like that we've made a difference.
Well, Nikkia, hats off to you for stepping up to talk about this issue and the fact that you were a victim of abuse when it came to dating relationships. And then also many thanks to your professor, teacher, who asked a class to come up with ideas for a blog, and it inspired you to decide to make this difference in this way.
Yes, I appreciate it all very much. I've always wanted to do something like this because it's been something that's been on my heart for many years. I never felt like I could. I didn't think I could make a difference. So this class has really definitely encouraged me to do that. And I appreciate you taking the time to let me come on your show to just bring awareness about it.
I'm thinking about the fact that there are so many things out there in the world that young people can get their hands on that does not create a real vision of what a relationship should be. We have to be cautious about the things that young people are able to access and the way that they view life. In reality, what we see a lot of times through the computer, through a screen, is not reality. It can be harmful to young people, and they can have a false perception of how they're supposed to act, how they're supposed to live, how the relationships are supposed to be.
Exactly. And you know, Mark, things are much different even than when we were in high school, right? When we were in high school, we didn't have the social media, and most of us didn't have phones that we, texted and all that kind of stuff with back when we were in high school. So if things were as bad as they were when I was in high school in the relationships that I was in, I can just imagine what kids today are going in, because they have to pretend that everything's okay on social media. So they hide those things. And then they see, like you said, they see all these examples of things that are not necessarily good.
This week I spoke to Pat McKay, and she's with the Alabama Human Trafficking Task Force. She's the chair. She's actually from North Alabama, and she talked to me about the summit that would be taking place again for the Alabama Human Trafficking Task Force in Alabama. And a lot of the things that you're bringing up, it crosses paths with that as well. We had one lady who was from the Mobile area who was Miss Mobile, and she had been stalked. I actually spoke to Scotty K. Alton just a week ago, and she's a reporter who was stalked. And when you think about the mindset of a person who does that, those are the type of people that take those relationships to that level of domestic violence and are very harmful to others, even though, as you said, they may say, I love you in words, but in their actions, in their deeds, it's far from it.
Exactly. And it starts out innocent a lot of times. In my situation, I was a 16-year-old and in love for the first time. And so I just thought that was the way that it was supposed to be. And when he told me not to tell people, or he told me not to do stuff, or that kind of stuff, I just thought that was the way it was supposed to be. It started out simple, and then it just became to the point that I would apologize to him for what he did. And that's how it starts. And the thing about it is, though, Mark, is the teenagers that end up in those kind of relationships, it leads to so much more after, even if they don't stay in that relationship for very long. It raises their risk of suicide. It raises their risk of becoming involved into another relationship that may be even more violent as they become adults. So it's just so important that we have those conversations. And there are so many resources out there for parents to have those conversations. Just in my research, I just found so many different things. And I actually found that the CDC has a program that it's called Dating Matters. And it's on the CDC website, and it's linked on my blog. It gives you so many different tools about how to have those conversations with your kids.
Wow, this is a heavy subject, but it's a subject that needs to be covered when you really get into the fine details. If we touch on the surface, it doesn't sound as bad, but when you really get into it, as a former police officer, I've seen this. I've seen what young people go through. I've seen what it can do to a person as they continue to grow. Decades later, the problems that they carry with them, because every time something happens within a violence situation, there's another layer that's built, and sometimes those layers build up and you cannot get down to the root of the problem, and the person turns to suicide, or they turn to drugs, and they turn to a lifestyle that they never would have imagined for themselves.
Yes. I mean, it leads to so many different things. So like I said in the earlier segment, the relationship I was in was when I was 16, and I got back into that relationship when I was 20. And then I was in another relationship in my early 20s. And it led to those repeat behaviors of seeking those type of relationships because that's what I thought was normal. But then I also, around that time, started self-harm. I dealt with that for years, and that is something that many teenagers who do that, who have gone through these types of relationships, they turn to. It's just another way of kind of self-medicating themselves to deal with the hurt and the pain that they're experiencing in those relationships. And those are things that they hide from their family, and people don't know.
I know that if there's a caretaker out there or a parent out there that's listening right now and knew that they could stop their young person from acting out in that way, to have this horrible effect of violence affect them in this way, that they would do anything they could to stop it. And we say that. But then when it comes down to the finer details of it, of, like you said, creating a plan, talking to the young person about what is a healthy relationship, it actually is not as easy to do that as it would be to say, I don't want anything to happen to my little girl. But yet, do we take the steps that it takes for it not to happen?
Right. And I always thought that I would talk to my girls about this kind of stuff. Like, I would have those conversations with them, because I didn't want them to go through the same thing. And it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. I have a 16-year-old, and honestly, I waited a little too late to talk to her about it. But we did have conversations, and it did save her at a time when she got into a relationship that she didn't suffer any kind of violence through it, but she just knew it wasn't quite right. She knew from the things that we had told her that the behavior of the boy was just not quite right. And it gave her an uneasy feeling. And so it gave her that knowledge of, you know what, this doesn't feel right, so I probably should not be in this situation. And she was able to reach out to me and to reach out to her counselor to get advice on it. And then she realized, yeah, this is not a safe environment for me. So I think I need to get out of it. And that's what I'm hoping I can accomplish through this blog, is that with those conversations that parents have with their kids, it will give those kids the resources and the strength to know, hey, if I make this decision because this doesn't quite feel right, that I have somebody behind me supporting me. My mom has already told me that it's okay for me to leave a relationship if I don't feel comfortable. And that's what I'm hoping. I just hope that we can get this exposure out there so parents know to have those conversations with their kids. Because if they feel they're loved and supported, then they're more likely to reach out for help or to leave a situation if they don't feel that it's right.
That healthy environment is so key when it comes to being valued, loved, and respected. And we put ourselves in so many different environments throughout our lives. Some are harmful to us, some are good for us. And we have to be able to pull ourselves out of the harmful environments. And we can be programmed to stay in a harmful environment if we haven't learned any better.
Right. Exactly. And when we teach our kids the danger of drinking, right? And we teach them the danger of smoking and doing drugs and driving too fast and that kind of things. But we have to teach them to take care of themselves in other ways too. And this is part of it, having those conversations and just explaining to them what the good things are, making them aware. And I think some parents are afraid to have the conversations because they don't want to scare their kids by telling them what the unhealthy relationships look like. They don't want to scare them, but sometimes you have to tell them these things so they're prepared.
Well, Nikkia, I want you to be able to tell people how to follow your blog. I want you to be able to tell them how to connect with you. So if you want to share that information, feel free to do that now.
Okay, great. So my blog is preventingteendatingviolence.blogspot.com. You're also welcome to reach out to me. My email address is njcoburn@asu.edu, and I'm happy to help you, direct you into websites and to other resources to get you the information you need to have those conversations with your child.
You can go to preventingteendatingviolence.blogspot.com, check out Nikkia Coburn's blog, and also you can email her. And the email address again, Nikkia?
njcoburn@asu.edu.
That's NJN as in November, J as in Juliet?
Yes.
Nikkia, I appreciate you joining me here on the Mark White Show to talk about this subject. And you're going to find that people are going to be receptive to this, and you're going to find someone who will read that blog, and it's going to help them in their life moving forward. So good for you for stepping up to do this particular blog and to take on this subject.
Thank you so much, Mark, for helping me.
You're welcome. Folks, that was my friend Nikkia Coburn joining us here on the Mark White Show today. And I hope that you have gained something from this, some knowledge from this particular interview as we talked to Nikkia and talked about this subject of preventing teen dating violence. When we come back, we're going to have Stephen Tako joining me. He is the creator of Junga the Dancing Yeti. We're going to talk about his anti-bullying efforts. And after that, we're going to have a brand new episode of Kyla's Korner with Kyla Carter as she discusses the issue of gossip and bullying as well. I hope you'll stick with us. You're listening to The Mark White Show, and I'm your host, Mark White.
Let's all do something good today. A little wink, a pat on the back, a big old hug, a little laugh. We can make a difference. All we have to do is try. Yeah, every day's a chance to change somebody else's life. Let's all do something good today.
The best way to buy, sell, and experience land is with Jonathan Berryhill. For your farm, ranch, recreational, hunting, timber, and acreage needs, contact National Land Realty Professional Jonathan Berryhill at 256-874-7354 or email at jberryhill@nationalland.com. Be sure to follow Jonathan Berryhill with National Land Realty on Facebook. This is your land. Thompson Roofing and Construction is a locally owned family business serving the North Alabama and Southern Tennessee area. They are a Better Business Bureau A+ member since 2011 and a GAF Master Elite Contractor. Give them a call at 256-952-3309 or check them out on the web at 256roofing.com. They offer free inspections.
Thompson Roofing and Construction.
Located in Tuscumbia, Alabama, the Alabama Music Hall of Fame honors Alabama's music achievers. You can even go into the recording studio and try out your talents as a singer. That's the Alabama Music Hall of Fame, located at 617 Highway 72 West in Tuscumbia, Alabama. Open Tuesday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Give them a call at 256-381-4417. Check them out on the web at alamhof.org. Is it time for a haircut? Go see my friends Philip Butler and B.H. Parker at Southwind Barbershop, located at 1637 Lee Street in Rogersville, Alabama. Give them a call at 256-247-5658. That's 256-247-5658.
Mr. Cecil Batchelor is the one that started this business as Dependable Service Center. And even though now it's Green's Dependable Hardware and we're a True Value store, our tagline is still Your Dependable Service Center. We've tried to keep that alive for all these years. Mr. Batchelor really started a good business. We're really excited to be carrying on a long-standing tradition. It's the oldest retail store in the city of Russellville. We're Green's Dependable Hardware, 15220A Highway 43 in Russellville, Alabama. We're right behind McDonald's or right across the street from the hospital. Number is 256-331-0123.
Your Dependable Service Center.
Hi, I'm Crystal Gale, and you're listening to The Mark White Show. And one smile can make a difference. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Someone loves you, I do.
He drives into the city, works extra hard all day, finishes up early so he can get away. 'Cause there's a blue-eyed kid on second base, wants dad to watch him play.
Welcome back to the Mark White Show. I am your host, Mark White. As advertised, I have Stephen Tako joining me. Stephen is the host of an anti-bullying talk show called Tako Talk. He's also the host of Los Angeles Movie Awards, the NYLA International Film Festival, and the creator of Junga the Dancing Yeti. Welcome to the Mark White Show, Stephen Tako.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
I am glad to have you on the show, and I think this is a very important subject as I think about my 7-year-old who's in the other room in the first grade, and I think about bullying and how we can treat others in a better way.
Yeah, it is such a we got the pandemic of COVID going on, but there's been a long-term pandemic of bullying, and really it's been going on for all of our lives, and in future generations it's going to continue going on, and past generations. For all the time, bullying has been something that people have had to deal with. You know, I tell people that I work with anti-bullying and I'm trying to end bullying, and I'm not going to kid myself and say that bullying we're going to be able to end it. But what we're trying to do is trying to help people like your child to be able to overcome the bullying, because it is part of life. Life is not meant to be fair. And, I'm in the business now of helping people realize that and figure out if we can help one child at a time overcome the bullying, there's going to be a lot less problems in the world.
Well, Stephen, thinking back to my school days, I was the new kid at many schools that I attended because my grandfather, who raised me, was a preacher, and so we traveled a lot. It was always very difficult for me. I think maybe because of being raised by an older generation, that had an effect on my personality, how I carried myself. I didn't get treated so well sometimes in the locker room. As a matter of fact, I was the kid who would try to wait for everybody else to finish in the locker room to even change out my clothes. And I remember one particular incident. I was out on the track. I was walking the track, and a kid came up from behind me with a branch, and I get chills thinking about it, but it was covered in fire ants, and slapped me on the back with it. I had ants crawling all over, and I took off running towards the gym, and I was taking off my shirt, trying to get the ants off of me. But things like that have a powerful effect on a person even years later after it happens.
It's so true. And unfortunately, there are so many people that end up carrying on throughout their whole life, stuff that happened to them as a child. Look, kids do mean things, and they do stupid things, and they all have various reasons as to why they do them. That they're going to look for the easy target. They're going to look for the child that maybe has a low self-esteem or doesn't really stand up for themselves, and that's the kid that they're going to have the most fun targeting. And unfortunately, I was one of those children as well. And many people many people end up carrying that feeling with them into their adulthood, and they never really learn how to shed it. And they keep reliving that fire ant scenario in their mind over and over again, and they keep reliving this victim role. And I found that some of the public talks that I've done where teenagers or adults are attending, and they start sharing similar stories of things that happened to them when they were a child. And it's amazing how it transforms people when they're actually able to finally get over that, maybe in their hearts forgive that person who did something wrong to them, or forgive themselves for allowing it to happen over and over again. And once you start forgiving people, it's a lot easier to move on and start focusing on other areas. So that is a major aspect of what I'd like to help accomplish during my time here on the earth.
And I appreciate that very much, Stephen, because clearly here we are decades removed from my incidents of bullying, and I want to help people. I want to recognize people in our communities, and I want to make a difference how I can, and I want to show where we can do good. And I want it to be an example not only for people outside of my home, but within my home as well. And my daughter, as I mentioned, a 7-year-old, and be a powerful influence for her to be a person who is kind, a person who is loving, a person who has a heart that wants to help people as opposed to hurt them.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. We can let our experiences, we can share our experiences so that kids hear our stories. They realize that it's real, that it happened to us, and that maybe we can end that cycle. And they can see that, look, we're not bitter people, but this is something that happened to us, and this is wrong. And they can be like the beacon of light if they witness somebody else in their classroom who is experiencing something that really just does not look right. Somebody is being harmed in some way, whether it's physically or mentally. And they can, because of our stories that we've shared, they can now be the person that steps forward and says, hey, that's enough. You can't do that to that person, and be the protector.
You're a very talented guy. You're creative, because I look at your list here: improv, comedy, film, television, internet, music videos, commercial, print, runway, writer, producer. What led you to this particular creation of Junga the Dancing Yeti?
It's a great question. When I first moved, I grew up in Ohio, a small farming community. I never felt like I really fit in. And when I moved to Los Angeles, one of the first things that I did is I got into the movie business, but just by doing some background work, just kind of test it out. And of course, it's a very fickle business and hard to make a living at it. Real life all of a sudden came on. I got real life bills I have to pay. And I ended up following into a different career. And I did that for many years. Well, then I went through a relationship status change in 2010. And about 3 months after we split up, I thought to myself, hey, nobody can tell me that I can't pursue my passion of acting now. And so I started taking some classes, and then I auditioned for a short film called Abominable. And it was about this father Yeti who is protecting his son. And I auditioned for it. And well, I'll tell you, I used to do children's parties. I used to show up as like Barney the Dinosaur and Big Bird, and I played all of the male Power Rangers and Batman and all these different characters on the weekend. And so when I auditioned for this Yeti role, they looked at me afterwards and they said, we got to tell you, nobody else even came close to what you just did for us. And so I was able to pick up that role. Well, when we were done filming, they had to custom make the Yeti costume for me because of my height. I'm almost 6'7". And when we were done, they on the last day of shooting, I said, hey, would you mind filming me dancing in this costume? And they're like, well, yeah, okay. And so they were all laughing and watching me dance. And then they gave me the costume as well. So then I had the costume. I love dancing. I've always had a passion of dancing. And later on in 2012, I was in a movie called Gangster Squad. And while I was on set, we had a bunch of downtime, and I started writing this story called The Dancing Yeti. And in that original story, I wrote about this young Yeti boy goes on a trip with his grandmother. And I just thought, I'd like to somehow incorporate this character into anti-bullying. And so I worked with the character as an adult. I played the adult version of this character, and I would show up to youth functions, and I would share people the story that I told about the dancing Yeti going on a trip with his grandmother and getting discriminated against. And kids loved it, and I loved talking about it. But the confusion was always, what does a 6'7" Yeti have to do with bullying? It's like, it would take me like 5 minutes to explain the connection. It's like, well, look, everybody thinks that I'm a monster, and I'm not a monster. So they keep judging me, and they want to hunt me and kill me and capture me and everything. And they think that I'm this terrible beast, but I'm not. I'm a dancing Yeti. I just want to be myself and have fun and enjoy life and just let people leave me alone. And so then they're like, oh, okay, now I understand. Well, it was my father that encouraged me to really focus on the Yeti as a young boy character. And then I came up with the name Junga, which is another story. But I came up with the name Junga in 2014. And then it took me all the way up until 2018 to finally get the first Junga book fully illustrated and printed. So that's a long way of answering your question, but I've always had this desire of helping the underdog because I was the underdog. I've seen a lot of successes working on stage in Hollywood, being on some amazing movies and some TV shows and hosting those awards. And my self-confidence is soaring high. And so now I was like, well, what can I do? I want to give back. I want to help kids that were like me, that were neglected and abused in some aspect and bullied. And I want to take my talents and my passion, and this is my legacy. I'm not going to live here on Earth forever, and someday I'm going to be gone, and I want people to remember, hey, it's Stephen Tako. Yeah, that's the guy that created Junga the Dancing Yeti. He's got this program where he helps kids overcome bullying and help improve their self-esteem.
I knew there was a reason I wanted you on this program and to talk to you about this. And if it's okay with you, I want to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to share more about this book. I want to share about the team that has been built to help push this program forward, because it does take a team of people. And I know that you have a great group of people who've helped to be a part of this Junga the Dancing Yeti. Will you stick with me?
Perfect. Yes, I will.
All right, folks, we're talking to Stephen Tako. He is the creator of Junga the Dancing Yeti. More importantly, the message within it is anti-bullying. It's about treating others fairly. It's about respecting others. And that's a very important subject to cover. And I hope that you will share this with your friends and let them know that the Mark White Show is trying to advance this cause. You are listening to the Mark White Show, and I'm your host, Mark White.
Special kind of hero. No ordinary hero. Talking about a hero. Special kind of
If you like hickory smoked ribs that fall apart at the slightest pull, or barbecue shoulders that are so slow smoked each tender bite melts in your mouth, then you are going to love Baby Jack's Barbecue. Baby Jack's Barbecue in Bartlett and Arlington. Try the barbecue chicken, beef brisket sandwich, barbecue potato, it is huge, or the Baby Jack Trio, pork, turkey, or beef brisket sliders. You like wet ribs? They like dry ribs. Get one slab that has them both. Catering? Baby Jack's can feed a family or an army. Drive in, drive through, order online, or come in and set a minute. Baby Jack's Barbecue in Bartlett at Highway 70 in Appling, or in Arlington at Highway 70 just a block west of 385.
Do you have knee, shoulder, elbow, and other joint pain? Would you like immediate relief without surgery? Let me introduce you to Dr. Michael Farah, who's been serving patients around the world since 1986. At Freedom Medical Center and Trinity Medical Care, you can get platelet-rich plasma injections and other treatments. Dr. Farah is your choice for cosmetic and regenerative medicine. Schedule your consult today at Trinity Medical Care by calling 256-489-3192. That's Trinity Medical Care, located at 8010 South Parkway in Huntsville. Walk-ins are welcome.
Hello, my name is Christian Martinez. I'm a rising senior at Athens Bible School. My school is great because of the wonderful environment in which students can grow and flourish. We have great academics that include the University Preparatory Diploma and dual enrollment courses that lead to an associate's degree before high school graduation. All my teachers and the school's employees are Christians who are devoted to the welfare of students. We have an excellent student body, competitive sports program, and study the Bible first thing every day. It's a great place. Please consider joining us at ABS next year, or give that special child in your life the great opportunity I have.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers. Losing a loved one is hard, but losing a loved one and not having an estate plan is even harder. Attorney Harlan Mitchell witnessed what not having an estate plan can do to families and decided to use his experience to do something about it. I encourage you to go to BamaEstatePlanning.com or give Harlan Mitchell a call at 256-216-9884. Again, that website is BamaEstatePlanning.com. Let Harlan Mitchell help you with estate planning. Do it for those you love, and do it today.
I love those dear hearts and gentle people who live in my hometown, because those dear hearts and gentle people will never ever let you down.
Welcome back to the Mark White Show. I am so glad to have Stephen Tako on the line with me right now. He is the creator of Junga the Dancing Yeti. Now, he did not know this. He had no earthly idea that there would be a connection in this show. But Kyla Carter, she's a DreamWorks actress, a Nickelodeon actress. She's a Broadway actress, played on White Christmas, has been part of Sound of Music, traveled around the country and the world on Broadway. And her subject today on Kyla's Corner is about being bullied, and it's about being mistreated for being different or having a talent and other people taking your talent and your ability and making fun of it and bringing you down as a person. And Kyla's message works perfectly, seamlessly with this message that Stephen Tako is sharing today. And I wanted Stephen to continue to share that message because I want people like Kyla to be encouraged. I want other young people to be encouraged. I don't want them to be mistreated. I want them to be cared about and loved and know that people like me and Stephen are in their corner and that we want the very best for them. Welcome back to the Mark White Show, Stephen Tako.
Thank you. It's good to be back. And thanks for sharing about Kyla's Corner. It is refreshing when you see people who are taking their negative experiences in life and transforming it into something that's positive. And when I look back at my life and I think of all of the different things that happened to me that other people would just feel so down and depressed about. And I've always managed to figure out a way, how can I turn this around and shine some light on it? And bullying is something that definitely I've encountered, and I didn't really have like a lot of talent when I was younger, other than I was a really good singer at one point. But I realized that being tall, that there were some people that were probably jealous of my height, and because I was skinny, they really would pick on me relentless, and you know, and that's a form of body shaming. And whether you're overweight or skinny or tall or short, you know, it's really such a cruel thing to do to somebody, to shame them when, you know, when in most cases, in so many cases, there's really not much you can do. You know, like you can't change the fact that you've got freckles. But why would you want to? Why does everybody want to be the same? How boring would it be in a world if we were all looking the same, if we were all the same height? I look, you know, I love dancing, but I look at a lot of the different choreographed groups, And it would look really, really peculiar if there was one 6'7" guy in there with all the other people that were the same height. So I had to look at, okay, what are my strengths? You know, where can I use my talents? What can I do? I worked on Oz the Great and Powerful, which was James Franco's version where he played Oz, and I played one of the Wicked Witch's guards. And it was an amazing movie to be on. And we actually got to stand on a part of the original Yellow Brick Road that Judy Garland was on.
Wow.
They had that. They made sure that we filmed in the same soundstage that Judy Garland filmed in. It was used to be MGM and now it's Sony Studios, but it was the exact same building. And it was just amazing. You had to be between 6'4" and 6'8". And I'm 6'7" almost. So anyways, I stood in, and it was just an amazing experience to be there. And I remember one day on set, and I was looking around, and I was thinking, I am so blessed to be here at this moment. And no matter what happens in my life, if I ever get famous or not, I will always have this moment that I'm standing on the Yellow Brick Road. And it really was quite amazing. I use that story sometimes when I talk to the kids, and usually you see everybody sets their cell phones down, and they really pay attention and listen, because kids like to hear real stories, and they can tell if you are genuine. And Mark, I can tell that you're very genuine, and you talk about the stories that you've shared, and Kyla's got to be a very talented person, and you know, when people talk from their hearts about true stories that happen to them, it is so inspiring, and that's what we're here for. That's what we want to do. We want to inspire other people. We want to, you know, create our legacies. We want to collaborate with positive people, and that brings me back to what you were saying earlier. Is it takes a team. It takes a village. I've got talented people. I can't draw. If you saw some of the original drawings that I did, just to kind of get the image, it's a joke. But I found a guy, Peter Gullerud. He's retired. He did amazing work with some Disney films on Aladdin and Little Mermaid, and he did stuff with Hanna-Barbera. Anyway, so I worked with him to do the illustration. Well, I went through 5 different illustrators before I could finally find somebody that could really deliver what I was feeling in my heart and in my head, what I could come up with. And so we collaborated and did the book. And then one of the things I wanted to do is I was going to do a reading. And so I raised some money to do the book. And I told people, I'm going to put together this DVD, and we're going to make a DVD of the reading of the book. Well, I don't know about you, but for me, when I start working on a project, all of a sudden I find ways to make it harder than it could have been. But it's because I'm somewhat of a perfectionist when it comes to my craft. You know, I want it to be sensational. I want it to be amazing. I don't want people to say, oh, that's nice. I want them to say, wow, you did that? So I found, I was looking for a place to record my vocals. I live in San Diego, and somebody on Facebook said, hey, why don't you try this guy, James Alberger? He's got a studio here in town, and he's received Emmys for his sound. Why don't you go over to his place? So anyway, I reached out to him, and sure enough, and you'd think, oh, somebody who's got 11 Emmys, that they'd be maybe unapproachable. This guy, once I started talking about the mission of what we were doing, his eyes lit up. And he's like, you know what, Stephen? He goes, I'm gonna give you a great discount. I want to help you with this project. And so we delivered it's a 12-minute video, and it is the reading of the book, but it's not just me reading everything like I originally thought I was going to do. I actually did a casting call, and I reached out to people across the United States and found some amazing, talented people to portray the characters and bring life to the characters. And what a very cool experience it was when James Alberger was able to put all of these voices together on one track, and then he added some music. One of my nieces is a musician, and she put some hauntingly beautiful music behind a very tender, sad scene where Junga himself was sitting in a cage, and he was questioning about himself and and putting himself down, thinking that it was all his fault about why he was in that cage and he didn't know where his grandma was. And it was a very scary, sad time for him. And the emotion is there. But it's got a great happy ending. Everything ends up working well. And it does. It takes the collaboration of people. We've been nominated for 2 Voice Arts Awards for that video. And I'm very proud of those nominations. And with the second book, Junga the Dancing Yeti Meets Heidi, that second book is due out from the printer. I should actually have it in my hands, hopefully by Saturday or Monday. And then pretty soon we'll start working on the video for that book. But anyway, it is very cool working with very talented people who are all motivated for this one mission, and that's to help end bullying for kids.
Krista Walrick, she was part of your team, and I became acquainted with her through Instagram. We have talked back and forth, and she's very talented.
Nice. Yeah, she actually won a nomination this year for Voice Arts on another project that she worked on. But she did her recording for Grandma Yeti. My fiance and I we listened to it. We just looked at each other and like, she sounds like the perfect grandma that would put a Band-Aid on your knee and instantly somehow have chocolate chip cookies ready for you. And, one that you just couldn't wait to visit and give a big hug to, but she's super talented and brought her flair into the program. And I'm so glad that she's part of this.
Well, I love the fact that you have brought so many people into your team and given them opportunities, because it is that proverbial yellow brick road that you're bringing others to. And if you think about young people and give them a chance to stand on that yellow brick road and to feel that feeling of accomplishment, that is a very good thing to do in our lives.
Oh, absolutely. As I mentioned, one day we're not going to be here anymore. And we hope that the time that we've spent here, that we've inspired people, we've left the world a better place than when we started. And however many people we can touch is just it's a great feeling. When you think that Krista told me how blessed she felt just being part of this. And the other cast members, they just felt really good about it. Now that I'm working on pretty soon I'll be working on casting the next one. I'm going to be looking for somebody to play Heidi, who's Junga's new best friend. She's got a major role, and whoever I cast for that role, this is going to be a really cool thing in their life. They're going to be able to say, yeah, I'm Junga's friend, Heidi, and they can put that on their resume of life and be able to maybe go to some events with me, at some point, depending on how big this gets. But it is exciting to see that other people are jumping on board who are as excited about the message as I am. And in the ending result, children all over the world can benefit from our collaboration.
You will definitely need to listen to Kyla's Korner and Kyla Carter and her segment. She is a voiceover actress as well, and she does a wonderful job. And it's her heart that I noticed back in May when I interviewed her. And I talked to her mom, Renelle, and said, let's bring Kyla on the show to share a message with teenagers. And she's done exactly that for 36 episodes. And every single week has a positive, encouraging message. I think it's been great for the program. And giving people an opportunity like that is the key to it. Through this anti-bullying program, this effort that you have through the book of Junga the Dancing Yeti, I know that a great work is being accomplished. And I want people to know how they can have access to this special book.
Well, we are working on developing a new website, but right now the website is jungayeti.com. So Junga, Junga, Yeti, Yeti, jungayeti.com. Right now it currently takes you to our Facebook page, and you actually can order the books there. They're also available. The first book is currently available on Amazon. And then the second book is going to be available very soon on Amazon as well. Or people can reach out to me directly. If somebody reaches out to me directly via Messenger, like on Facebook, then I can go ahead and personalize the book. I can sign it and write a child's name or their name in the book and send it out. So anyway, I'm at a point right now where I very much enjoy doing that. I wish that we didn't have this COVID, that I could do more book signings in different areas. But for now, if somebody does want a book, they can get they can go to Amazon. It'll be a paperback book that they get through Amazon. And then if they wanted to get it directly from me, the author, then they can either go to the Facebook Junga Yeti page, or they can just reach out to me personally on Messenger, and I'd be happy to go that way as well.
Stephen Tako, he is the creator of Junga the Dancing Yeti. I want you to check out this series of books, and I'm excited about the fact that the book is coming out. He'll be picking the next one up at the printers on Saturday or Monday. That's exciting for him, and to think about what it's going to do for people, what it's going to do for young people when it comes to anti-bullying and having them focus on treating others with respect, treating others fairly. What a great opportunity to have Stephen Tako on the program with me. Thank you for joining me here on the Mark White Show today, Stephen.
Oh, it's been a true pleasure, and we've got a lot more things coming down the pipeline for this character, and I'd love to be on your show again down the road with a follow-up.
You would be most welcome to do that anytime, my friend.
Thanks again for letting me be on the show. I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you, folks. Stephen Tako, I hope that you will check out the book. You know why we're here at the Mark White Show. We're here to recognize difference makers. We're here to share their stories and encourage and inspire each other to make a difference where we can. I hope that you will follow the Mark White Show as well via Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, MeWe. You can also subscribe to the Mark White Show podcast at Apple iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Audio Boom, SoundCloud, Blueberry, and on YouTube. I want you to find ways to make a difference in your communities. I want you to find those opportunities to help lift somebody up. This is what we're here for. Share it with your friends, your neighbors, and your families, and let them know what we're trying to do here at the Mark White Show. When we come back, we're going to have Kyla Carter with Kyla's Korner, and she's going to be discussing the subject of gossip and also bullying. I hope you'll stick with us. You're listening to The Mark White Show, and I'm your host, Mark White.
Who live and love in my hometown. These are my kind of people.
Hey, this is Carl Ray, and you're listening to Kyla's Korner with Kyla Carter, where she's living life sunny side up. And just like my old friend Johnny Nash would say, we all need a little sunshine, so y'all live life sunny side up.
It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day.
Welcome to Kyla's Korner. I'm Kyla Carter, and I hope to inspire you to spread positivity, happiness, and kindness through these segments. I live my life sunny side up, and I hope you can too. Have you ever been in a conversation or heard a conversation that has made you feel uncomfortable? Have you been a part of a group where someone is trying to undermine the reputation of someone else? Do you watch, listen, and participate in the conversation? Do you encourage the gossip, rumors, and criticism, or do you speak up and stop it? Imagine a world where gossip is not allowed. A world where we try our best to build one another up, or find constructive and direct ways to talk to a person in a respectful manner about what is bothering you. I have always wondered why someone would go out of their way to make another person feel hurt, lonely, embarrassed, or sad. Now imagine being the one person who stood up and said to the group, "Stop." I wonder how often that happens. How often do you stop the gossip and speak the truth, or even question the gossiper? Last week, I was a fly on the wall. I witnessed a conversation going on in a high school classroom when the teacher walked out of the room and accidentally left the remote learning microphone on for all of those at home to hear what was being said. The conversation was filled with anger and jealousy. The students were talking about one of their peers very negatively, and it stemmed from a decision the classroom teacher had made. And they thought that it was unfair. My heart sunk. It sunk because they were talking about a student that was at home learning virtually just on the other side of the screen. But they didn't know the microphone was on. And they didn't know that the student was listening to the whole conversation. Imagine. Just imagine how it made the student feel. Listening to the gossip and negativity being said about them. And then, one girl, just one, stood up and stopped the conversation, defending the student and explaining the reasons why the teacher had made that decision. She gave the group of students information they didn't have, information that she knew and the teacher knew, but they didn't. And just like that, the conversation ended, but the damage was done. So, today, I'm going to ask my listeners to think before they speak. I want you to realize how powerful words are. Words have a deep and lasting impact that can lift another's spirit or destroy a person in ways we may never know or understand. We have to remember the words we use can sometimes be the difference between life and death for every student in school who is battling through bullying and harassment or contemplating their worth or value. Careless language hurts, wounds, and dehumanizes. So please, be the person that uses your words to heal, explain, and educate, and to encourage. Be the person who says stop and defend someone who can't be there to defend themselves. Remember, once they are said, they can only be forgiven, not forgotten. One kind word can change someone's entire world. So please, be the kindness we need in this world. And always live your life, as I do, sunny side up. Hi, I'm Kyla Carter, and you're listening to The Mark White Show. Stay unique and find a way to make a difference that doesn't just impact you, but impacts others around you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Hey everyone, I just wanted to pass along this really important message because it's important to me and everybody around me. Did you know that 22.6 million Americans have battled COVID-19? Now, a huge surge in COVID cases has risen up in the US, but if you have recovered from COVID-19, you may have powerful antibodies in your blood plasma. Like, what? That's absolutely insane. One COVID plasma donation can help save 4 COVID patients. So, if you want to be a hero, which I know you do, just go to a donation bank for blood or give some of your plasma if you have recovered from COVID. Anything helps. Love you.
Welcome to the Make a Difference Minute replay, where we play Make a Difference minutes from the past week. Welcome to another edition of the Make a Difference Minute from the Mark White Show, where we're sharing stories to encourage and inspire.
Experience the difference at Athens Bible School. The vision and purpose is to provide each student a quality education in a Christ-centered environment to develop the whole person spiritually, mentally, physically, and socially in safe and supportive surroundings. The solid biblical foundation permeates learning and culture in the classrooms and every extracurricular activity.
This is the Make a Difference Minute
from the Mark White Show.
On this Make a Difference Minute, I have Emma Grace Baradelli with the Hance Family Foundation and Self-Esteem Rising.
I am actually an ambassador for Self-Esteem Rising. This year has been tough on everybody, and everyone just needs a little extra love. You look around you, and people, even though if they look happy and okay, you never know. You just always want to make sure people are good inside. The Hance Family Foundation, in 2009, I was only 1 year old at the time. Unfortunately, Warren and Jackie Hance lost their 3 daughters to a tragic car accident, but instead, the family didn't let their lives just end in grief and tragedy. It didn't take over them. They turned that tragedy into triumph and created a beautiful foundation to honor their girls. Their names are Emma, Allison, and Katie Hance. Then in 2010, they started their first program, Beautiful Me. It just started on a local level around their neighborhood in Flora Park. then self-esteem was created, and it brought their vision to a national level, and it even reached an international level of helping 80,000 participants so far worldwide, which is really awesome because people are learning every day so much about themselves from this program and learning that their confidence is a superpower, which is my favorite thing about all of this. They have two websites, handsfamilyfoundation.org and selfesteemrising.org. They also have an Instagram, Self-Esteem Rising, Hands Family Foundation, and I believe a Facebook as well. So you can check them out, just Hands Family Foundation and Self-Esteem Rising. Check it all out. I would recommend it.
If you have a suggestion for the Make a Difference Minute, send it to themarkwhiteshow@gmail.com. Be sure to follow The Mark White Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This is Mark White encouraging you to find your purpose by making a difference in someone's life today. Welcome to another edition of the Make a Difference Minute from The Mark White Show, where we're sharing stories to encourage and inspire.
Experience the difference at Athens Bible School. The vision and purpose is to provide each student a quality education in a Christ-centered environment to develop the whole person spiritually, mentally, physically, and socially in safe and supportive surroundings. The solid biblical foundation permeates learning and culture in the classrooms and every extracurricular activity.
This is the Make a Difference Minute
From the Mark White Show.
We are headed to Brooklyn, New York today to talk to two special young ladies who are raising funds for those who are hungry in their communities. I'm glad to introduce both Jolie Rose Wasserman and Scarlett Divany. Welcome to the Mark White Show, Jolie and Scarlett.
Hi, thank you for having us. Scarlett and I are performers in New York City, so we made a bunch of connections and friends who enjoy singing and love to make changes in the world. They joined us on our journey to help others. We started Voices to End Hunger. You want to talk a little bit about it, Scarlett?
Yeah, we started Voices to End Hunger because the hunger problem was so bad. COVID increased the hunger problem by 40%. I also made sandwiches in the spring for one sandwich at a time, and I saw how long the line of food was. It was so long. We had to do something to help. With our talents, we host virtual cabarets monthly that we perform in, host, and fundraise for the Food Insecure. So we have all our friends that are performers host to help spread awareness. And we have made so many changes already that have made a very big impact on families. And now we have an upcoming cabaret on February 12th. It's our Valentine's Cabaret at 7 p.m. Live on Facebook, Voices to End Hunger, Eastern Standard Time. Please donate at our Venmo at Voices to End Hunger. For our PayPal, it's at voicesandhunger@gmail.com. And anything helps. To $25, 25 cents, anything helps.
Folks, I want you to take this message that you've heard today from a 13-year-old Jolie Rose and a 9-year-old Scarlett, and I want you to think about what you can do to make a difference in your community. If you have a suggestion for the Make a Difference Minute, send it to themarkwhiteshow@gmail.com. Be sure to follow The Mark White Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This is Mark White encouraging you to find your purpose by making a difference in someone's life today. Welcome to another edition of the Make a Difference Minute from the Mark White Show, where we're sharing stories to encourage and inspire. You've heard me talk about telemedicine at Trinity Medical Care Center here on the Mark White Show. With Trinity Medical Care Center's telemedicine, you can skip the commute and get the care you need from the safety and comfort of your own home. You can contact Trinity Medical Care Center by calling 256-489-3192. You can also schedule an appointment on the web by going to trinity-medicalcare.com. Again, give them a call at 256-489-3192 and give telemedicine a try today. This is the Make a Difference Minute
From the Mark White Show.
Cole Stoddard was a young boy with a special gift of bringing laughter, smiles, and joy to everyone he met. His greatest pleasure was making others happy. He loved being outdoors playing with his twin brother Troy, his older sister Tara, and his many cousins. Cole was such a loving, caring boy who could always be counted on to brighten each moment with a silly joke or one of his magical smiles. Cole taught us all to treasure each and every moment and to always smile and be happy. I reached out to Cole's father, Tony Stoddard, and wanted him to join me on the show today to bring awareness to Cole, his legacy, and to help others when it comes to childhood cancer. Welcome to the Mark White Show, Tony Stoddard.
Hello, Mark. Thank you for having me. We were kind of stunned when he sat up in bed and he looked at my wife and I and he said, "Smile, be happy." And we were both in shock to hear those words from him. There were so many tumors in his mouth, it was hard to understand any words that he was saying normally at that time. And he started to lay his head back down on his pillow, and then he sat back up again real suddenly, and he This time he said it even louder. He looked us both in the eye and he said, "Smile, be happy." And then he laid down back on his pillow and he went to sleep, and that was his final message to us. We've tried to honor those last 3 words, that last wish of our sons, ever since that day.
People can go to Facebook, Sophia's Fund. That's SOPHIA''S, Sophia's Fund, and also go to sophiasfund.org. Check out that website. I appreciate you joining me here on the Mark White Show today and sharing about Cole and this special message that he left us, and we need to live by it. Smile, be happy.
Thank you so much. God bless you all.
If you have a suggestion for the Make a Difference Minute, send it to themarkwhiteshow@gmail.com. Be sure to follow The Mark White Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This is Mark White encouraging you to find your purpose by making a difference in someone's life today. Welcome to another edition of the Make a Difference Minute from The Mark White Show, where we're sharing stories to encourage and inspire. No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers. Many of you have now heard the term stepped-up basis and it possibly being eliminated, which is very concerning. I encourage you to schedule your free 15-minute consultation with attorney Harlan Mitchell to find out what you can do to protect yourself and your family. Schedule your appointment with attorney Harlan Mitchell by calling 256-216-9884 or by going to bamaestateplanning.com. Do it today. This is the Make a Difference Minute
from the Mark White Show.
Folks, we're talking to Kyla Copeland. She's 32 years old. She lives in the Huntsville, Alabama area. On December 10th, she was diagnosed with stage 2 invasive carcinoma breast cancer, and she has a journey ahead of her. She reached out to me thanks to my friend Brittany Phillips, who's gone through leukemia herself.
It was a surprise. I actually found a lump on December the 3rd, and then I went to my OBGYN, and then I had to get a biopsy and things, and I have no form of cancer on either side of my family. So it's a total shock because basically it started with me. So it's a lot that I'm going through. It's like a lot of physical and it's mostly emotional and mental, but I'm just taking it day by day.
This fundraiser is GoFundMe.com/EUFUJ-my-cancer-journey. In addition to telling people verbally here on the Mark White Show how to find it, I also will share it on the Mark White Show so people can be able to find it there as well.
But nothing is too small or too big to help. Anything and everything helps.
Well, Kyla Copeland, thank you for joining me here on the Mark White Show today, and we'll share this GoFundMe on the Mark White Show. And once again, if people would like to go and donate, the GoFundMe is GoFundMe.com/EUFUJ-my-cancer-journey. Be sure to follow the Mark White Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This is Mark White encouraging you to find your purpose by making a difference in someone's life today. Welcome to another edition of the Make a Difference Minute from the Mark White Show, where we're sharing stories to encourage and inspire. Located in Tuscumbia, Alabama, the Alabama Music Hall of Fame honors Alabama's music achievers. Open Tuesday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Give them a call at 256-381-4417. Check them out on the web at alamhof.org. This is the Make a Difference Minute
from the Mark White Show.
On January 25th, which was Monday, a tornado went through Fultondale, Center Point, Tarrant area, and we lost a young man in the tornado, Elliot Arzaga Hernandez, and his family's grieving right now, and I wanted to find a way to help move an effort forward that one of his teachers, Jason Vogt, has organized to help the family. Welcome to the Mark White Show, Jason Vogt.
Yeah, thanks for having me. When I first heard about the tornado, I immediately got up in that area and was trying to help. Then shortly thereafter, our principal released the information that Elliot had passed away, and I honestly, my heart just broke in that moment. The grief of losing a child is so great, and I have 2 children of my own, and I just couldn't imagine what their family was going through. Right now, I don't even have a goal. When I set this up, I just thought, let's get as much money as we can, and the people keep amazing me. I keep on adjusting the goal on the GoFundMe page, and I was speaking to my wife this morning, and I said, Erin, do you think we're going to get $50,000? And she said, Jason, it's possible. You can find it by searching Elliot Arizaga Hernandez and GoFundMe. You can also find it on NBC's News and AL.com. They have links there as well in both of those locations. Great way for you to donate to the cause.
I do want to make sure that people know the spelling when they are searching. Elliot, ELLIOTT, Arizaga, ARIZAGA hyphen Hernandez, HERNANDEZ. And you can find that by searching on the GoFundMe Elliot Arizaga Hernandez Relief and Memorial Fund. If you have a suggestion for the Make a Difference Minute, send it to themarkwhiteshow@gmail.com. Be sure to follow The Mark White Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This is Mark White encouraging you to find your purpose by making a difference in someone's life today. I hope that today's show has been beneficial to you. I appreciate Nikkia Coburn joining me to talk about teen dating violence, as well as Stephen Tako to talk about Junga the Dancing Yeti and his anti-bullying effort. And we also appreciate Kyla Carter with a brand new episode of Kyla's Corner. You can also follow my friend Kyla Carter at Kyla D. Carter on Facebook and Instagram, and Kyla's Corner Podcast on Instagram and Facebook as well. If the Mark White Show is making a difference in your life, I encourage you to share it with your friends, neighbors, and family. Let them know what we're trying to do here to make a difference in our communities. You can follow the Mark White Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also subscribe to the Mark White Show podcast via Apple iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Audio Boom, SoundCloud, Blueberry, and on YouTube. If you have a suggestion for the Mark White Show, you can always message me through Facebook, or you can email me at themarkwhiteshow@gmail.com. Again, thank you all for joining me on the Mark White Show today. I'd like to thank my sponsors who helped make this show possible. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I appreciate you as listeners. This is Mark White encouraging you to find your purpose by making a difference in someone's life today.
Well, let's all do something